if Valentine's Day is the day where you're saving yourself to use your partner's love languages because that's the day you're going to prove to them that you care, what's happening every other day?
Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we're coming to you 2 days before Valentine's.
Yes.
So hopefully you walked into a CVS or a Kmart and bought your Valentine's card. I feel like...
Wow. Really? That's how we're starting out?
I think like most...
Go head over to Kmart, y'all.
No, I just feel like most Valentine's card purchases happen last minute.
Okay, but hopefully not, because today's the 12th. Let us encourage you to, I don't know, make a card.
Oh, make a card. I like that.
Have your kids help. That's kind of like the messaging of today.
Is that how you'd like for it to go?
The opposite of the Kmart direction. Just as a general starting out.
This is a good conversation for us to have. No, I mean, obviously that's why I started out that way.
Also, something is better than nothing. So no shame in your game if you got a beautiful card for your husband or wife or partner from Kmart. There's no shame, but let's just encourage a little more creativity.
Sure. Also, if CVS, if you want to sponsor our podcast, we're here for you.
Down.
No, the reason I started is because we're going to have, you've been following us for a while. We're going to have a different conversation about Valentine's that you've probably heard before. And I know, and I think this is a lot of what we're going to talk about, Soph, is Valentine's has kind of become this holiday where one partner has to prove to the other that they really care enough to do whatever you're supposed to do on Valentine's.
Whatever the expectation is that they can uphold.
And if it happens, then...
They're not in trouble.
They're not, you get a pass for another year.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully change the way you think about this a little bit.
Uplevel it.
But let's get into our review of the week. Drum roll, please. Thank you very much. Helping me get out of own way. Melk, 1981. Melissa. Obsessed with all things Sophie Jaffe. So, of course, I had to jump on the Ignited podcast train.
Stop it. Go on.
Please go on.
Let me stop you.
I had to jump on the Ignited podcast train. Sophie and Adi have the most calming and beautiful voices, and they're just literally so cool, and I love their outlook on life. After just a few short episodes, they've inspired me to stop being such a wimp around intimacy and difficult conversation with my husband and make things better. Love you guys. XOXO.
Whoop, whoop. I love that.
Melissa, not only did you just win our care package, but also stay tuned for this episode because that's exactly what this Valentine's episode is about for us. And Sophie, you've got a quote you wanted to share with everybody.
I do, and I've read this before. You'll see that I kind of review my favorite quotes. I have a section in my phone, which you should do too if it feels inspiring to you. But I have just my favorite quotes in my notes section of my phone, and I just go through it and then pick one that feels aligned with that day's messaging. So I've read this one before, but I absolutely love it. Find someone you can be completely free with, sexually, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and cosmically, and go fucking wild. And that's from the book Women Running Wild with the Wolves.
I love it. So back to the thing that we were talking about in the beginning, and we talked about this before we started recording, Soph. Valentine's is that day, I feel like, and it was... We don't really do it in our relationship too much. We did it, I think, when we started early, and then the shit went sideways, and we were in repair mode for a couple of years. But when we came back, I don't think we ever went to this place. Valentine's is that day where the guy gets flowers and a card and some present, and hopefully books a prefix dinner at a local restaurant.
Right. In Western society, if you're lucky enough to be listening to this and this is ringing true for you, there's obviously other ways to handle February 14th, but we're talking directly to someone
100%
that's very lucky to even be listening to this probably in your car or on your phone, and that we can even be talking about these things and up-leveling, right? We're so privileged that we even can have this conversation right now. Because the entire universe doesn't celebrate February 14th this way. It's very Western, almost Americanized. I'm sure in England they do this, in Europe, and in Israel, is Valentine's Day a thing?
Not in the same way.
Not really, right?
Not in the same way.
It's just interesting to think about, like, it's just a day.
Right,
So
but isn't that true of every day? Like Bastille Day is only celebrated in France.
Sure. This one specifically is about love, though. So what we're trying to share here is like, how can we recreate and look at this day in a whole new way?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is I don't think it hasn't become about love. It's become about
Things.
proving that you're part of a relationship by following protocol.
Yep.
And that protocol currently is get some flowers, get a card, buy a gift, and schedule a dinner.
Yeah, and these expectations just keep getting kind of like more intense year after year for some couples. And like, it's almost like, where do you have to go from here but down? It's like when you put someone on a pedestal, you know, it's kind of scary. Like I have some friends that are pretty evolved and they're 15, 20 years older than me. And they're wrapped up in that, you know, like, you better get me those earrings. I've left several hints. It's like, whoa. Is it your birthday?
Well,
like,
so no, but again, so that's the point, right? The point is, it's like the day to prove that you're in the right relationship.
Yeah.
And I think the angle that we're going to play on this, although as you guys know, listening, it's once we get going, we see where the conversation goes. But the point I'm making is there's something really, not just sad, there's something really dysfunctional in a relationship about setting up a day where you have to prove that you're in the right relationship.
Yeah.
And for a bunch of reasons, you know, we were talking about this before, and you said this, and I think it's smart. I want to put it in here. I don't want to shame anybody for getting a card or getting flowers or getting a dinner. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, if this is the day where you get to prove your love by doing those things, then the setup is wrong.
Yeah.
By all means, go to the dinner. Like,
but what's the substance of the dinner? That's what we want to get into now. What's the juiciness? What are you going to talk about? How are you going to elevate so that the day after Valentine's Day and the days leading up to Valentine's Day, you're in such a heightened state of love, and that vibration between you and your partner, which is the most important thing, is vibrating at such a high, beautiful frequency. That's what we want to create here, is not just like, yeah, we have dinner, prefixed. Yeah, we're going to do the thing. We go there every year. It's just like our thing. No, like, I'm so excited to share this day with my partner. Here's what we're doing. And here's what we talked about. And being prepared, which is hopefully you have a couple days now to prepare with your partner or on your own for what you want to create. What is this day going to give you? And I'm hoping to like use Valentine's Day as an excuse to start fresh. So kind of like New Year's in our society is a time to kind of maybe make intentions for the new year, make some changes, show up a little differently, up-level yourself personally. Let's make Valentine's Day the New Year's for partners. So we leave feeling more elevated and more connected in all the ways that we'll share today.
Yeah. And I think you guys have heard us talk about the love languages before. If you haven't, we definitely talk about it in our Intro to Relationships workshop, which you can check out. We'll have a link in there for that. But 5 Love Languages, a wonderful book. And the main love languages that are discussed are gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, or physical touch. And I think in that way, actually, the way I kind of describe Valentine's, it does include a lot of those things, right? So the cards hopefully has words of affirmation.
Yep.
The gift includes that for people whose love language is
giving.
that. Acts of service is like going and making the reservation and taking the time
making
and doing
dinner
that.
for your partner.
Making dinner.
Yeah.
The quality time is while you're sitting there at the dinner, if you're having quality time. And then physical touch, literally, I know some people are like, almost like on a birthday, like that's when they have sex. So there's like some of those expectations are set up and they could go along with those
love languages,
which is great. I think at least where we want to start this conversation is, if Valentine's Day is the day where you're saving yourself to use your partner's love languages because that's the day you're going to prove to them that you care, what's happening every other day?
Right.
Like, what is the buildup? I think the way you said it before we recorded, and I'd love for you to talk about this a little bit, Soph, is we're not great at these like Hallmark holidays anyway, but we want us to know our partner's love language and what they appreciate so well and use it on such a regular basis that when Valentine's comes, even if we do the same thing, they go, oh, it's just another day.
Yeah. Or like if you leave me a card in the morning, like a Post-it note with a Sharpie that has a heart and I love you and appreciate you, happy Valentine's Day, that's enough. That's where we want to get to the point. We want to help you over the next year. It's not about feeling shame for where you're at now. We want to give you the tools and the confidence to be able to take off and have the relationship of your dreams, which is possible if
Maddie,
both partnerships want.
Can you get me a Sharpie and like a piece of paper before?
That's all I need. Put it in my suitcase. Send me a love note. That's all I want. It's, it's interesting just the way that we build these things up. And when we say we're not really into Hallmark holidays, like I have a visceral reaction to Hallmark. Like I don't like that it's like what everyone does. Like I automatically, and I'm like that with trends too. I'm just like, ugh, everyone's doing celery juice. I hate that shit. Like it's just the way that I am made up. But also there's something to that. I really want to feel so confident and good in my relationship so that when that comes around, it's extra credit. So whatever we do, if we end up doing something around Valentine's Day, cool, awesome. But also a lot of times it's like around our birthdays, we're all like, yeah, let's go on this trip. Okay, this is Leo's birthday trip. Like we just kind of create it as
things into it.
We make it all up, but it's a place of love and connection and intimacy. And all we want is to be together. Like we always talk about like being in the car together if we're heading to like a family audition or something. Like I love being trapped in the car with you guys because it's all 5 of us and we're all having conversations and laughing and admiring each other and telling stories or listening to a podcast. All I want is shared experience with my family. So that is like, that would be a great Valentine, is to go to the beach together and carve out time and not work. So what Adi was saying is figuring out what your partner's love language is. And maybe it could be 2. Some of it, and it changes over time. So revisiting these love languages in the book again, because things may have shifted after a baby or 2 or a job shift or getting older. And then going from there. So it's a really connected, it's okay to celebrate. Like I love an extra reason to celebrate. Cool, more love, fantastic. The kids get to make Valentines, pass them out. Why not have more love in the world? Why not be more thankful on Thanksgiving? Sure, let's all show more gratitude, but let's show gratitude every day of the year.
Yeah, and so I mean, we were talking before about so much of this is about getting to know your partner so you can show up more regularly for them in this way. We mentioned if your partner loves gifts, and I think a lot of times people misconstrue gifts as a love language and they think it always has to be big. Some people just want, it's like the act that you're giving them something and you thought about them in a thoughtful way to give it to them.
To a massage.
Yeah, or like a small thoughtful thing.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this before. Sophie and I have a funny history with gift giving, and you're not like anybody else I've ever been with. I guess that's why we've been together for 15 years. And
you're welcome.
The other people didn't really last that long. But around gift giving, it's been almost like a joke.
Struggle, yeah.
For us.
We now laugh.
Now we laugh.
We both were pretty butthurt about it.
As I give Sophie gift certificates, because I stopped buying Sophie clothing because sometimes I miss the mark. But one of the things that came up for us right before we started recording this is sometimes you'll give it your all. And this is what makes, I think, depending on relying on one day to prove everything can go so wrong. So I went out and I got Sophie. I don't buy that many gifts. Like gift giving has never been a thing for me. Not in terms of receiving and not in terms of giving. It's just not how I identify, right? One of mine is like words of affirmation. That's how I learn it. So if you say to me, hey, you did a good job. I saw you do that thing and it was great. That means way more to me than a gift. But I went out and I bought Sophie this gift, and in my head, I mean, I even asked some friends or whatever. Like it was
a birthday like 2 years ago.
I thought I hit the mark. And Sophie's birthday comes up and she takes this thing out the box, and it's a Tiffany's box. And I'm laughing as I say this because in every other relationship that I've ever been in, like just the Tiffany box by itself
is a symbol.
Would have been like, oh, that was really thoughtful.
Yeah.
Sophie looked at the Tiffany's box, and I think you were going to throw up.
I think I was holding back tears.
Yeah. Like it was like I slapped you in the face.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm sure most women even listening, like, again, I shouldn't have shame around how I feel and my visceral reaction, and you shouldn't have shame about the things you like. If you like Tiffany's, that's great. For me, I'd rather support a local jewelry company. I'd rather support someone down the street that makes it and we get to go in and design it together. And, it's the personal touch and it's supporting a small brand, not a big. So it's on so many levels made me feel physically uncomfortable, and I couldn't hide it. And I don't know how to lie.
You can't hide anything.
And you don't know how to lie to me either. And so it was a little uncomfortable, and I got mad at my friends that gave the A-okay. Like, were they drunk? I don't know. But it's all good. And I love it now. And I laugh when I put it on, but I actually do love it. I layer it. It's a cute ring. It just proved once again that like, you may be so, Adi really liked the ring. And a lot of the clothes he bought, he really liked, but he liked. That's the key. It's not what is my style is.
Yeah.
It's what you thought girls like Tiffany's, therefore I'll give her Tiffany's. You didn't think, what would Sophie like?
Well, hopefully I actually picked the ring out of that you would like. But yeah, still, it's like...
Wrong store.
It was the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think part of the reason I want to tell that story is because it doesn't happen frequently, it doesn't happen on a regular basis.
I do want to say really quick, though, that a lot of feelings came up for me. Like, it's not just about the gift. It's like, does he even know me? Like, I went through like a trippy, upsetting, uncomfortable, I don't know, half a day where I was like a little depressed. Like, I think I was like rapid firing my best friends. Like, what does this mean? And it seems really like silly saying it out loud, but I want to show, because also people love to hold us on a pedestal and like, you guys have it all figured out. Like, for sure don't. He can't buy me a gift after 15. Like, no, we don't. And this is what I went through, is I felt like you didn't know me. And this is maybe on Valentine's Day what other people feel when they're like, great, a dozen roses. This is what I'm supposed to love.
Right.
I don't want a dozen. I don't even like roses.
Or like the prefix dinner that everybody goes to, right?
Yeah.
Like you go to that restaurant.
You pay triple.
It's all couples.
Yeah.
It's like the...
fine dining.
The two options of
I want to wear my Uggs. Like, what?
So all those things are relevant because if we were the couple that gives gifts all the time, guess what? You get better at gift giving.
Yeah.
Because if I would have given you a ring like that 8 years earlier, I would have known Tiffany's not the right store, and then it would be off the list. Now my joke is like, I'm going to give you money or a card to go buy whatever the hell you want. Because it's like you've
gotten better the last few times. So let me give you examples of things that he did. I needed a new computer. Last year for my birthday, he got me a brand new Mac. I wouldn't have bought it for myself until it actually died. It was having a lot of problems.
I think we still have your old one as like a paperweight somewhere.
Yeah, Noah loves it. So, and it's like, sometimes we need permission. It's not that we don't have the money to buy whatever, fill in the blank. It's not like, unless it's a non-negotiable, it dies, I'm not going to treat myself to that. I don't do that. I don't go out of my way to like buy myself a new thing if I don't necessarily need it. I'm not a person who buys a lot of expensive things for myself. So you bought that for me. You got me earbuds last Valentine's Day. I loved that. It came in a pink case, so thoughtful. I don't use them very much because they're never charged and I forget, but it's a really nice gesture and I appreciate it. I wouldn't have bought them for myself. And I really appreciate that.
And Noah loves playing with them.
It's great for like a 5-minute distraction. Most recently, I haven't even talked about this. It's so beautiful. For Christmas, you gave me the most beautiful book that you wrote for me. And he literally, what website did you use?
Oh, I don't remember now.
It's okay. But
it's called like Love Book or something like that.
Love Book or something. But oh my God, it was the cutest thing ever. It is the story of our love. And he made us, we're little stick figures. And
so
you get
that's
to
how
pick.
It works. It's like there's hundreds and hundreds of potential pages and they have text and you can change the text and you just kind of pick the ones and put them in order. And it took
a while.
8 or 9 hours to make that gift. Like Amazing. It was the most work I've ever put into a gift.
We have a long relationship history too.
Well, and also to make it personal, which I think is what you're getting at, is that was the most personal gift I've ever given you.
And it's the best gift that you've ever given me.
Because I had to spend literally like 8 hours making it so that it would feel good instead of just being a collection of pages that don't relate to us.
And I think just noticing what the other person's going through, and like, it's not about dropping hints. Like, sure, you can drop hints, but also let the person know you. Like, I was frustrated with my computer. That felt really good to get a brand new, like, pink laptop from you. That's like the cutest thing ever. And I felt so special and important getting it. And like, you really cared and knew me because you took the time to go do that. When you dropped your phone off, your motorcycle going to get milk for Noah, it shattered. And like, you probably would have been like that for a while and then maybe would have gone and fixed it for $50.
Maddie is shaking her head. That was such a nightmare.
Yeah. And like, I knew that you wouldn't buy a brand new phone for yourself, but it's nice. We live on our phones. That's our job.
Yeah.
So I got it for you. So all of these things are like, yes, the book was really special and the most special thing ever because you got to like tell the story of our love and it was so full of heart, but also like a functional thing that that your girlfriend or wife or husband or boyfriend loves or wants or has been looking at, even like if they pass by and see a dress and they're like, that's really cute, they might forget about it. And you just remembering that is so special.
And even again, so we're focusing on gifts. I want to move to a couple of other options because I think all the love languages are different, but it's the act of paying attention. And here's the point. Waiting for Valentine's Day like it's a special day to show your love suggests it exacerbates this problem where that's the day of the test.
Right.
Because if you do it all the other times and you literally do nothing for Valentine's, it doesn't mean anything because you're always there for your partner.
Yeah.
If you don't do it all the other times and then you don't do it for Valentine's, it's literally like you failed the relationship test.
Yeah.
And so, even you mentioned going to the beach is quality time. It's like, I want to spend time with you. Okay, well, I don't want to spend time with you once a year. I'd like to spend time with you preferably once or twice a week, even if we're really busy.
Yeah.
So how do we take the time for that? Like we've talked before, really putting emphasis on date nights.
Yeah, we go Thursday nights. We have our babysitter locked in. She knows, isn't Thursday the night that I'm babysitting? Yeah, she doesn't usually work in the evenings. Well, on Thursdays she does, and we give her a long break in the afternoon on Thursday so that she can then work for us at night. So then I'm sacrificing my end of the day Thursday, and I'm with the kids so that I can then go out that night. Like, yeah, I'm going to be more tired, but I have to prioritize that in my mind and in our relationship in order to have that ongoing maintenance of love and being spontaneous and having fun. Like those things are really important. And it sounds kind of boring. Like, oh, we have a date night scheduled in once a week. It's every Thursday or not. It might not. I'm just saying like,
but like I'm saying on the heels of that, because I know that's so important for us, I was just at a conference. I was gone for 9 days other than a day and a half that I was back. And Maddie knows this. We were at the conference together and I wrestled with this question. I was like, I really want to be this for this last speaker. Like Tony Robbins was closing the thing out and his sessions are always amazing. And I was like, but I haven't really seen my wife in 9 days.
And then I leave tomorrow.
And you're leaving tomorrow. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to close this thing early. I'll go. And I kind of called you up and I said, look, I'd love to still be able to get the experience. We'll get it at some other time, you and me, but I'm going to leave because there's an opportunity for us to go out and have fun tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any other.
Our friends are having a party. Like we don't know the next time that we're going to go out and have fun with our friends. And it's like these opportunities. Yeah. There might be another party in a month. But to jump on opportunities and be spontaneous and to say, I'm going to come home early on a flight for you, for us, means so much.
Yeah.
And we made the most of it. And we really showed up and were present to each other that night at the party. And when we came home and like...
Well, because it was special. And again, it's that whole thing of, oh, you care enough about me. Like you felt the quality time play in doing that. Because it was authentic and it was real and it was
a big gesture.
Yeah.
It felt like a gift too. It was like a lot all in one. And for me, I am a lot all in one. Like acts of service. That felt like an act of service. I just got off the heels of like working so hard for our family and one of the hardest weeks of my life in work. I had 3 shoot days on top of all my normal work and all 3 kids. And it was a lot. It was energetically very draining. And it's not all for you, but there are children. So it felt very giving on my end and depleting. So to be able to end that with this huge act from you of generosity and service and love and my love languages and all of that stuff all wrapped up into one felt like the biggest gift.
Yeah.
And and I think by you calling and asking, you learned, I don't like surprises. Like you learn over time.
No, I learned that for sure.
Well, you learn over time what your partner's shtick is. What are they comfortable with? What do they want? I don't want a surprise. I want to get excited about it. So if you tell me on Saturday morning that you're going to come home early, that's great. I have all day to mentally prepare. If you would have
oh my God, you would have hated me.
At 8 p.m., I would be like, I'm not going to that party an hour and a half away. I am going to bed.
You would have hated me.
And you would have hated the experience too, because you would have been like, well, that was a waste. I could have been a Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
So learning how to communicate. Some people are different. Some people love surprises,
So that's what I think the way I wanted to jump this off is Valentine's Day is coming. You've done whatever prep you've done. You got a couple of other days to pay attention. But what if, and you use this as an analogy, what if you use Valentine's Day as an opportunity? Not an opportunity to test your partner and see if they got you the right gift and booked the right dinner and got you the flowers you liked. You can still do that if you want.
Get that gross candy that like no one likes. That box of chocolates.
Sees candy. But maybe use it as an opportunity to...
Evolve.
Uncover, evolve. You said level up before.
Grow.
use it as this New Year's kind of like visualization exercise that everybody does now before your relationship.
And Adi and I do that every year before New Year's. We set intentions. What are the intentions? You can call them goals. You can call them, I call them intentions. I don't love the word goal, but what is your intention with your relationship? And remember, with every growth opportunity is some feeling uncomfortable. So this isn't going to just be like, how was your day? Great. How was your day? Great.
Right.
No, we're encouraging you, if you're up for the challenge and you want to evolve and you want to grow in your relationship, use this as an opportunity to do so.
That's why I like the review that I read today, because what Melissa was saying was I've started showing up in the face of discomfort in my relationship to grow and become more intimate. And I think what a great opportunity this month to do that. And so obviously you've heard us talk about checking in with your partner on a regular basis. So we want to dive in more deeply into that. But you said, as soon as I said that upstairs earlier, you said, but you got to check in with yourself first.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we're about to do a couples workshop here in LA pretty quickly. We have the intro to relationships workshop online. We were shocked. We went through our own trauma, but we were shocked when we started doing workshops for couples and see how little couples actually talk to each other about the relationship. And then I think why we want to talk about this first part first is how few people, if you just ask them a question like, what are the things in your relationship that are troubling you right now and would elevate if they got fixed? A lot of people just don't know.
No, because they're not doing the work to uncover that.
So the first part is to actually sit down with yourself. You got a couple of days here. Sit down with yourself and say, like, what do I want out of 2020, out of my relationship? How do I want my relationship to improve?
How do I want it to improve? How do I want to show up differently? How could my partner show up differently? What are some things that he or she could elevate, change, maybe something they used to do and they don't anymore that you love? Like, take note and check in with yourself and see how you both can change and transform your relationship into something even more powerful, even more evolved.
And that's on all fronts.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that surprised me the most when we did our first online like couples retreat or whatever was when we asked that question. Everybody was married on the course. And we asked the question of, have you ever talked to your partner about what you enjoy physically, like sexually in your relationship? I don't think anybody had, right? Out of all the couples that we had?
One couple.
One couple out of all the couples said, oh yeah, we've had that conversation. Even that was years earlier. But I think like 8 or 9 couples had never talked to each other about this. Literally never asked that question. So I don't know, some of you listening right now, that might be a place where there's some friction, there's some issues, there's some things you want to resolve, but you've never, or maybe not in a long time, sat down and had a conversation with yourself about where those things are so you can even have with your partner.
Exactly.
But that's just one area.
Right.
There could be, we talked about
split it up into
kids.
categories. And we did actually do this when we're manifesting the next year. We write out categories. So I'll say like travel, places that I want to travel within the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 5 years. We split it up into different timetables. So for you could say, okay, here are all the different categories that matter to me. Sexuality, intimacy, travel, fun, play,
relationships, work,
communication. Well,
like
I'm saying
friendships.
specifically in your relationship.
No, but I'm talking like friendship. Like one of the things we've had for a while on it is like there are
other couples that we feel.
Couples that we feel like elevate our relationship. So all those different things are things you have to really think of
and create and work on.
Yeah.
Like the couples that we want to hang out with aren't going to necessarily come and knock on our door tonight.
I mean, actually, let me just say that they're probably not going to come knock on our door.
They definitely won't. I'm just saying like.
I mean, but I think, where did I just see this? I just saw this on a completely unrelated, I was watching Instagram or something. And wow. Okay. We talked about Leonardo DiCaprio and like his action early on in his, work kind of world when he started acting at reaching out and making friends with other kids he saw in auditions. And that allowed him to create this network of people that he knew in the world. Now, a lot of us, I had this for sure growing up. I feel like I'm done with it now, but junior high and high school, definitely all the way to the end of high school, I was really shy. And the idea of asking somebody else to do something with me, I'm not even talking to a girl, like I'm talking friends to hang out, was really shaming.
Yeah.
So I lived pretty isolated, waiting for people to want to be my friends.
Yeah, you got to build a confidence within yourself that you're deserving of whatever it is. Like our friend Seema talks about when I first walked up to her in our statistics class at our community college, Santa Monica, and like she fell in love with me because I walked up to her and I was like, "You want to be friends?" And she's like,
Nobody asked that question.
Okay, she's born and raised LA. It's just like no one's ever asked me that. But I was like a small town girl, and I'm still that person.
And you're still her friend. What is it? 12 years later?
Yeah.
15 years later?
But I'm still that person. Even though I've lived in LA that long, I still have that like confidence that I'm worthy of whatever it is. Like I have no shame. Like I will reach out to any brand. I will reach out to any person, any relationship, like anyone to play, to hang, to collaborate, because there's no shame. You are worthy of anything that anyone else is worthy of.
So if you sit down and you have this relationship conversation with yourself in your own head, what do I want out of my coupleship? What do I expect? What am I deserving of?
Yep.
You then get to show up to your partner and say, hey, I've been thinking. Now, something really important that I want to say when we have this next piece of the conversation, it's always, I've been thinking, I feel.
Keep it on you.
I'm hoping, I'd love to, I would really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's not, you don't ever come home ready to have dinner. You never have sex with me. It's never you do stuff.
Yeah.
We have to own all our own shit.
Yeah, we're asked all the time, regularly, multiple times a day, how do I approach this thing with my partner? I want to say this.
Can you give some specifics? Because you had some questions earlier that people asked you.
Yeah, I mean, even last night, someone asked me, remember I read it to you in bed? Someone said, my husband or boyfriend used to help me in this way around the house. We both work full time. His job has become a little more intense. And I feel that I would like him to go back to helping more because we both should be doing 50-50 in my opinion. But I don't know how to approach it without being attacky. What do I do? And the first thing I said was, keep it on you, first of all. I loved when you helped me X, Y, and Z. Yeah. I miss that, and I would really appreciate that because I come home, the kids need X, Y, and Z. Oh, they are married. The kids need X, Y, and Z, and I work too, and I'm tired.
And even to say, I haven't realized, I know I've been maybe more aggravated or more sort of stressed out around you, and I didn't really realize why, but I just realized that I miss it. I have your help.
And it's okay to have needs, you guys. It's okay to have needs. It's okay to ask for them to be met. It's okay to ask your person to help you, help yourself. That's what partnership is.
100%.
And most of us, especially as a mother, a woman, asking for help is a big deal. Anytime I post anything about self-care, like took some time to fill my cup this week, I get hundreds of DMs. Thank you for giving me permission. Girl, I didn't give you permission. I'm taking care of myself. Yeah. I'm glad that I could be an expander for you. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's take care of our needs. Let's ask for our desires to be met in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not even just okay to have needs. You have needs.
Yeah.
You just need to identify what those are that are not being met.
It's okay to express them and ask for help.
Yes, it's 100% okay to express them and expect that your partner will participate in getting them met. Now, your partner might say, look, I don't have what it takes at the end of the day to sit down and wash dishes. There better be a way to step up somehow and figure out how it's not all on you.
Yeah.
We literally had that conversation with Maddie. Were you already working with us when Sophie and I started fighting about the dishes in the kitchen?
Oh, yeah. She was there. She's there for that.
You were like folding laundry, and we had made some agreements about.
She was in the kitchen.
The dishes, like right behind me. I think.
Poor Maddie.
I know. We get very intimate in our home life.
Shockingly.
I know, and we had made an agreement about like washing dishes at the end of every day, and I said something, and you went off, and initially it was just angry, and then when we talked about it later on that night, you were like, "Yeah, we made the agreement. I need you to step in more." And I was like, "Oh, I literally like misunderstood the agreement." And I think part of it was you didn't feel comfortable maybe saying, "Hey, I need you to wash the dishes more." Yeah. I'm really frustrated. There's nothing more I can give. The agreement you made was like a 50-50. Like let's all wash the dishes at the end of the day. But what you really needed was some help.
Right.
And so it caused a little disagreement, a little fight to like get over that.
Right.
But it's okay to ask for help.
It's also like our biggest problem always in therapy has been like, we're not mind readers. Like to me, I'm like, I am stretched so thin over here. Don't you see me? I'm shrinking and falling apart. Like I'm withering away because I'm giving so much. Hi, see me over here? Guess what? He doesn't. I can wish that he was more aware. I can wish that he would read my mind. It's not happening. It's not happening. So the more I can explain what I'm going through internally, the more he can understand. And the next time, just get up and do that thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've said, when you go out of town, I'd love when you get back to just handle the kids. Don't ask me what they need to do. Don't ask, just do it. And I'm going to go take care of myself and fill up my cup so that I can stay sane and balanced. And guess what? He did it because he wants to. Yeah. And it's not perfect, but we learn and we grow when we ask for what we need.
Yeah. So if you check in with yourself, you know what you need. And then you even have the time so it doesn't come out in the more kind of agitated way because you thought about it. You had some time to really process. And then you bring it to your partner and you bring it with I and ownership language, etc. And then I think the other thing that's important that we talked about was don't think of that conversation as the thing that needs to fix everything in your relationship. It's the time to assess how things are going.
Right.
Because when you first bring this to your partner, oftentimes, like you just said, that's the first time they're even aware that half of these problems exist. So, or they've forgotten.
And also, just as someone who's like a classic resentful like person, I was going to call myself a name, but there's no shame in that. Like I can be resentful because I'm holding on and I don't want to release that. So guess what? What I've learned in the last year, it took this long, is that resentfulness only hurts you. Being resentful and being angry at someone else, especially, he's not walking around like, oh, I'm really upset because Sophie's upset. Like he forgets the minute I'm not in his view anymore, he comes to his office, he forgets for hours and he's doing his thing and I'm upstairs fuming or like out in the world fuming and upset and resentful. It doesn't serve anything. And instead, I'm just punishing myself and creating all that poison and angst within myself and punishing myself. There's no point in being angry because you're not actually doing the thing that you want to do.
Which is solving the resentment.
You want to solve it and you want to be honest with that person so that they know. I think
the phrase is literally like, being resentful is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Say it again.
Being resentful is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Yep.
And it's like, the point of what we're saying is, first of all, identify what you're holding on to, figure out how to say it, then say it to your partner. But here's the important thing is when you say it to your partner, that's just the beginning of the conversation to solve it.
Right.
I think a lot of people say, well, I've already done the work. I know what I need. Yeah. I know I brought it to you. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not saying it again.
Yeah. This is like now.
We're living together forever. In
now
theory.
this is like, now it's out.
Yeah.
Now we need to solve this issue. So I think to use this opportunity, I think Valentine's could actually be, how amazing would it be if that was the time where you do an assessment of everything that's great.
You get to reset.
Everything that needs work. And your partner knows, because here's the key. Just because there are ways to level up, just because there are things you can work on and make better, it doesn't mean your relationship is struggling. Mm-mm. You will hopefully almost always identify ways to move up.
Yeah.
That's the goal, is to keep finding more and more ways to improve.
In your relationships and all things. The work never stops, but it's so rewarding because you just keep getting better and better, and so do the things in your life.
Yeah, and so that way the conversation of, hey, I've thought of some things I really want to bring to your attention isn't a scary one. Because I think a lot of people, we talked about this before here for sure, but a lot of people avoid conflict at all costs. Mm-hmm. So they'd rather not talk about the resentments, right, even though they're drinking their own poison, right, because they're saying, well, I don't want to fight. Don't make it a fight.
No.
Hey, I've identified some things that I think could make our relationship better. Could be an amazing conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, who was it we were just...
But what if they're not receptive? Because I know someone personally who has been married to someone for a long time, assumes he's never going to do the dishes, so just does them. And he all day long works from home, leaves the dishes in the sink. She's resentful AF.
And they've talked about it.
They've talked about it in her mind. They've talked about it a lot of times, and she just writes it off and says he will never do it. So then she does it begrudgingly. She's angry. So again, I want to just say, like, it does take two, and it takes you not writing it off and sitting there fuming and being resentful and saying he will just never X.
Yeah.
What?
So
for you, he'll do anything. But it's the way you approach it.
So a few things. First of all, I always feel like even if the person on the other side of the table isn't ready to do work, especially in an area like what you're talking about, Soph, I say solve the problem and bring it to them. Like, say, hey, I feel like we've talked about this dozens of times. Maybe I haven't said it the right way. It really upsets me that this keeps going on. I don't really know how to say it differently. Maybe I'm not being clear on how much it affects me. So again, keep it in your own side, but then be really, really explicit about what's going on for you. And then I think sometimes what's really useful here is to bring possible solutions that work for you. I deal with this a lot of times with parents of kids who aren't sort of haven't been able to kind of get up on their own feet and move out and do what they're supposed to, or in partnerships where there's been conflict in the relationship for a really, really long time and there's all this stuff to solve. You're not always going to be at the same level of readiness to take action. I think it's actually a little self-centered to think that just because I read 3 self-help books and I'm ready to launch into this stratosphere of
the other person should just automatically,
magically your partner's going to. So here's the thing. Level up, and your partner's going to have to shut up and join the work, or they're going to have to figure out, am I really the right person for this partner?
Yeah.
And
that's especially in this relevant for this, like you're going to be the somewhat weird one potentially that comes to the table with, I have 3 questions I'd love for us to think about before Valentine's Day dinner, or before we go to the beach on Friday, or before we go away for our weekend. I want us to think about it on our own. I heard it on a podcast. Here are 3 things that we can think about. Phrase it however you want to. Send them this podcast, whatever. But the point being, like, it may be a little uncomfortable or weird if you're the one that's constantly doing the self-help, if you're the one that's constantly listening to podcasts that make you think and make you expand, if you're reading books all the time, if you're growing and the other person's like not in this way, they're doing other things, their focus is elsewhere. There's no shame in that. But the way that you approach it and the way you come to them is just with an open heart and without judgment. Hey, I'd love to do this preparation before Valentine's Day or before our celebration. Here's what I want us to think about, and then come together and talk about when we're together. It can be that light.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be scary. And they might say no, and be prepared for all of that. But if you approach it the right way, they should be open and willing to have a fun, intimate conversation with you, even if it feels a little scary.
Totally. We're going to come back with finishing this kind of how to finish off and have this conversation, and with the 3 prompts that Sophie mentioned, and a few tips on what to do if your partner is a little bit resistant to this right after this.
This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fixes all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right, everybody, we're back. And if you remember, we're talking about how to use Valentine's as an opportunity to level up your relationship, not look at it as a test, and uncover and then discuss with your partner how to make things better. So, Sophie, you mentioned we're going to have 3 prompts.
Yeah. These prompts are something that you would take a pen and paper, maybe your journal, and just write these things down from the heart. Be as specific as possible with each of the questions, and then have your partner do the same. And both of you can bring your notes to your
So
discussion.
You would do it before?
I would say do these things before. I guess number 3 you can't, but 1 and 2 you can. Just to kind of be ready and feel like internally connected to your truth. Because a lot of times for me, I have these conversations and then like what you say affects what I'm thinking. And you're such a powerful force. It's like, I kind of forget what it was that I was thinking. Like, yeah, that feels about right. And then I just go along with it.
Oh,
so this way you're like really connected to yourself.
Okay. We didn't talk about this before. So you would, you would like tell your partner what the questions are.
Yeah. Both of you come with like notes, or maybe even just have thought a bit before if you feel like you've got it down.
I love it. I mean, I'm always down for preparation. I was thinking this would be something you do at the table, but
you will.
But you can discuss what the answers are at the table. So number one is, what is working really well in our relationship right now?
So that is be as detailed as possible. There could be several of those categories we talked about. Wow, I just feel like intimately we're just so great. We've been having all this intimate time together. We snuggle every single night. You're giving me massages, like whatever it is. But then you might be like, sexually, I mean, it's been a really long time, or whatever it is. That's what's working. Oh yeah, what's not? Sorry. Yeah.
Sophie is already getting to question number 2 because she knows what they are, but you don't yet. Question number 2 is, what areas could we use some help in?
Yeah.
And so that's where you would say, we just reviewed, and it's really important, by the way, to go in this order. So you start with what's working.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people tend to get, even if they're ready for it, a little defensive if you start right with the stuff that isn't working.
Yeah.
So
and it's not about, here's the thing, it's not one person's fault. It's really hard. We have insecurities, we have pain points, we have things that spiral us into a thing where we have a story about it being a fault. Adi and I do this all the time. Like just Saturday, he said, I was complaining about not being able to take the Uber. And I hate to drive. I just don't like driving. I get so much work done in an Uber. I don't like driving. It's not something I enjoy. I want to be able to be productive during that time. I don't like the waste of time. Even if I'm listening to a podcast and closing my eyes, that's better to me because I'm resting and meditating than driving. I don't like it. And I had a big conference. I was going to be speaking at Blog Her, and that was my time all week that I was going to be alone and prepare for what my panel was. And then plans shifted. Adi came home early and he was like, no, you need to drive because I'll have my suitcase. We won't be able to find an Uber at that time. All these things. And he threw that at me. And all of a sudden I was like, this screws up. Now I have to do the thing I hate most, drive an hour and a half after the event from down. So I ended up driving like 4 hours on Saturday. And that's my least favorite thing to do. And it threw me off. And I was complaining just to complain. Not because it was Adi's fault. I was so grateful he was coming home. I wanted nothing more. That didn't change my feelings about my desire. I didn't now only want him to come home 70% in my heart. I still fully hadn't changed my stance. I want you home early. And I hate driving. And I've been driving all week and I don't want to. I want to relax and prep for my panel. So Adi took it personally, came back and was being really defensive and maybe I shouldn't come. Whoa, no. And so just know, we all, no matter how much we work at it and how quote woke we are, we all get defensive. So the best thing in relationships to not get super heated and to hopefully set the groundwork to feel safe is to keep it on I. And you can say we, but not you. It's really easy with what's not working. It's you've been working late every night this week. I'm feeling blah, blah, blah. Well, no. We need to work on this area.
I would actually keep it on I.
Yeah,
not
just
even
I,
we.
not we. Okay.
Just I. Own it. Because it is you, by the way. You are owning the feelings, right? The situation could be exactly the same for another person. They would feel differently about it.
It's
Own
true.
your own needs.
Yeah, we've had different situations where I say, you've said sexually we're not being close. And then I'm like, oh, I feel like we've been really good. We had sex last Saturday and I felt like it was great.
Just own your own thing, and that way it's yours.
It's your perspective.
Number 1, what is working really well in our relationship right now? Number 2, what areas could use some help in our relationship right now? And then 3, what is one thing I can do in your eyes to make our relationship even better?
Yeah, so you'll just do 1 and 2 on your own.
Yeah, so the third one is really an opportunity for your partner to speak directly to you, and you're asking for it. So it's not them telling you what they need. It's you asking what you can do. And I think there's a big part, you and I have talked about this a lot of times on here. I'll just say it again. I am really all for you looking at your relationship as your partner is your teammate. And the reason I say that is, if anybody's ever played a team sport, if you've ever played a team board game, it doesn't matter what it is. Collaboration and cooperation are what make things better in that situation. So somebody telling you what they need you to do can be really offensive sometimes. But if you're really part of a team, you want to know what you can do to improve things. And so the third question is important because, first of all, it tells your partner, I care to know what you need from me.
Right.
And I'm here ready and open to hear you say that.
Exactly.
So number one, what is working really well right now? Number two, what could we use some help or support on right now? And number three, what do you personally think that I could do right now to make our relationship better?
Yep.
And if you show up and you've put the thought into it and you have a thoughtful conversation about this, I can pretty much guarantee that you're not going to have the stereotypical Valentines where you kind of shoot the shit around the dinner table as they roll out the chicken, salmon, or steak, followed by the what is it,
dessert,
potatoes or broccoli
side,
and followed by the 3 dessert options that you have. Because if you go to one of those dinners, that food's still going to show up, but that's going to be a nearly meaningless part of the night for you. When instead, what you get is to have a real in-depth conversation with your partner about where they see the relationship right now and where they think it can go to get better. Because if you listen, the focus of all those prompts is to make the relationship better. It's not blame. It's not self-deprecation. It's none of those things. It's about, I care about you enough to put thought into this to make our relationship even better this year.
And I think also have a conversation around together, let's decide what we want to do for Valentine's Day instead of just assuming maybe the man being the macho man and making the decision. Unless you're in a relationship where you know for a fact your wife wants you to do that, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband, don't assume. I don't want you to make those plans for me. I want us to decide, let's go to that Thai place in our pajamas and do this activity together. Because that's actually what I would prefer. I'd rather sit in my sweatpants with no makeup on and be fully myself and comfortable and get Thai food. Now, if you say, well, I really wanted to dress up, we can then talk about that and find a middle ground and say okay, Friday, let's go there, and Sunday, let's go there. Since it's Valentine's Day, we'll treat ourselves to 2 babysitting. There's so many options, but if you just assume, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Well, thank you guys for listening. I hope this helps. Please share this. We have 2 days till Valentine's Day. Let us know if you're going to do these prompts. Show us what you're up to. Show us what you're thinking.
I would love a couple of things. First of all, if some of you are really brave and you want to share with us what your answers to this was ahead of time in your own mind. But then what I'd really love is Friday and Saturday, if you share with us what came out of this experience. If you actually did this with your partner and you learned something, I'd love to hear those lessons, because I know that all the people that follow us, all the other listeners, would love to learn from your experiences. I want to close with this. I think you can use almost every opportunity every day to level up. You can always look at your life as an opportunity to learn and get better. But these days in particular are, somebody already marked them for you on the calendar.
Right.
Somebody already made them special. Just don't let them define what makes that day special.
Right.
Don't let them define what you need to do on that day. Take our recommendations, and if they fit 100%, that's great. If they don't, adjust them for your own relationship. The goal is to make your coupleship, your relationship, the best that it can be.
Absolutely. Love that.
Thank you all so much. Have the best Valentine's Day. We will see you next week.
We love you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.